Wonderful morning to you all and welcome back to Sonnet Institute of Technology. My name is Bruce Malaudzi and I'm super excited to be your instructor. Today I'll talk about logging and SNMP. This topic is suitable to associate network engineers who are preparing for the CCNA routing and switching or the CompTIA N+ exam. Logging is a process of storing all the devices' activities from level 7, that is informational, up to level 0, that is emergency. By default, our syslog server listens on TCP or UDP port 514. SNMP, which stands for Simple Network Management Protocol, is responsible for trapping specified logs to a remote log server. Logs are trapped at different levels. SNMP 3 version 3 is the current version, and please remember that version 3 is much better than version 2. Most of the information can be found on the wiki pages, and in this part of the video I'm not focusing on that. Without wasting time, I'd like to jump into the Cisco iOS configuration while you read more on the wiki documentation on logging and SNMP. In this lab exercise, you need a minimum requirement of one Cisco router or layer 2 switch that can understand IP addressing. The second device will be a PC that is configured as a syslog server. In this demonstration, I'll show you how to configure a Cisco iOS device to send its logs to a remote syslog server. Our syslog server is configured an IP of 10.10.10.5. Then we have a layer 2 switch that is an IP of 10.10.10.2. Our router R1 has got an IP of 10.10.10.1. Then we have two PCs. The first PC has got an IP of 10.10.10.11, while the second PC has got an IP of 10.10.10.12. In this whole topology, all the devices belong to the same broadcast domain, and we are using the /24. Once we do the configuration, I'd like to show you the Cisco logs accumulated at the syslog server. On our JNS3 topology, I have the remote log server right here, and that's its IP. Then I have PC1 and PC2, and the IP specified here. Here's my layer 2 switch with an SVI configured and its IP address. Then here's my router on my right hand side with its IP address. Without wasting time, let's get into the configurations. On the switch, I need to check if the SVI is being configured. Therefore, I will pass the command show IP interface brief. The SVI is not configured. Let's configure one. That will be the command CompTIA and interface VLAN1. I'll assign an IP of 10.10.10.2/24. Bring the interface up. And let me double check. Show IP interface brief. We now have an SVI of 10.10.10.2. All I need to do now is to configure the remote syslog server. So I'll have to get back to the configuration mode, and the command to specify the remote syslog server is login and then the IP address of the remote server. The remote server is 10.10.10.5. The next thing, I need to specify which logs I need to trap in. But before we do that, let me exit from here, and I'd like to show you something. Let me log into the syslog server, and I'd like to show you some of the logs which are being generated by the switch at the moment, being sent to the syslog server. I'm logged in on the remote syslog server. I just have to start the terminal so that we can monitor the logs coming through. Yeah, the logs coming through, they're coming from the Cisco switch. So let me do this. Okay, so we need to generate the logs. So I'll get back to the Cisco switch and specify the kind of logs which I need to generate so that we can see them as they accumulate. So back on the switch, in global configuration mode, I just have to specify the kind of logs so that I can generate. Thereby I can do login on failure, which means all login failures I need to log. I can do the login on success, which means all successful logins need to be trapped as well. So from here I can exit from this switch terminal, and coming back to the syslog terminal, you can see the logs are piling right here. Can you see it says the login is started right here. This message is coming from the switch saying the login is started, and we are sending the logs to the remote server. That's the IP. The remote server is listening on that IP. So what I need to do now, I will telnet into the switch or SSH into the switch. I'll use right credentials, and then I can use wrong credentials as well, so that we can see the login failure and the login success. So let's get back to the PC. I'll use PC1 and then try to telnet into the switch. So from PC1, let me minimize my windows like this. Do this and bring this window below so that we can see the logs accumulating. Okay, so from PC1, the logs will be accumulating at the bottom here. So from PC1, let me telnet with the wrong credentials first. That will be telnet. The IP address of the switch is 10.10.10.2. My username is Bruce, and my wrong password. Okay, login invalid. So is the logs right here. So let's try now to telnet using the right credentials. My username is Bruce and my right password. So I'm successfully logged in. So is my logs right here as well. It says login success. So we can exit from here. Exit. Okay, connection closed by host, and I can exit from there. What I need to do now is to configure the router as well. To send syslogs to the remote server. So from the router side, I'll get into the global configuration mode. Then I'll say login. The remote IP of the syslog server is 10.10.10.5, and then I would like to trap in this failure logs. I'll also like to trap the successful logs, so I can exit from here. So I would like to SSH this time from PC2 to the router itself. So I'll start the terminal PC2, and let me try to minimize this window and bring this window as well, so that we can see the logs accumulating. Okay, so we're expecting to see the router logs accumulating at the bottom. So I will SSH. That will be SSH rows at the IP address of the router is 10.10.10.1. Okay, I'll use wrong credentials first. So my password, the wrong password. Okay, it failed, and there are the logs. It came through saying it failed. So let me use my right credentials. Okay, I'm successfully logged in here, and here is my successful login. So basically this is how it's done. It's pretty easy. A syslog, a Cisco iOS device can be configured to send all its logs to a remote server. By default, it will send all the logs from level 7, which is the informational, from level 7 up to emergence. But if you want to send traps or to trap the information from whatever level you want to specify, you can specify, and this is how it's done. I hope this has been informative, and I would like to thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.